Yeah.
It's not like we're some sort of hipsters here, E.
I know.
Dora is saying, I knew them when they were before they were cool.
Welcome to amorephillyunion, the podcast where we swear to talk about the Philly Union, the whole Philly Union, and nothing but the Philly Union, with as few digressions as possible. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul.
And it's going to be just a little bit of light housekeeping as the Help Us Help the You challenge has concluded successfully.
Yay!
And we just want to let everybody know we made our donation to the Philadelphia Union Foundation. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in and helping us reach our goal. We'll put our thinking hats on for next year to see what we can do. And if you have any ideas, feel free to share them with us.
I'd love to find some way to have an interactive competition or game with any listeners there. You know, we got a pretty healthy number of downloads this week, so hopefully we can, keep putting out semi-interesting podcasts and keep people coming back. But if we could find a way to, have a little fun with you, that would be cool.
Yeah, we'll try to think of. Something. Yeah, a little something different for next season.
And as they say, good artists borrow, great artists steal. So if you have ideas that you've heard in other podcasts, please feel free to share them.
Exactly. All right, well, let's get into all the big happenings since last week.
So much to talk about.
This is the part where we play the soundtrack with crickets. So no games but
no losses.
Yeah, right.
Keep the positive spin going here.
Exactly. Yeah, we're undefeated since our last podcast, last episode. So no games. I guess we're all the various semifinal teams are getting ready for the semifinals, which are a long time away in some relativistic way.
From what I understand, we should finish this postseason before the All-Star break next year. Fingers crossed.
Well, let's see. Maybe it'll be another Leagues Cup tournament we can throw in there.
Oh, please don't give them any ideas.
I know.
And we stayed positive 5 minutes in?
About 3 minutes. We lasted 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Good.
So, the Union's the semifinal game is scheduled for a week from this coming Saturday, November 25th. They have all the games times listed now. Pretty much I think the Eastern Conference games are going to be on Saturday, and the Western Conference will be on Sunday. I just got some notes here, right? It's like I said, it's like predicting the weather. We're over a week out, so I don't know how reliable any of this is, but just looking at the injury reports, Cincinnati has 3 players out, and 1 is in questionable shape. The questionable player is Alvis Powell. And then
former Union player, Alvis Powell.
Oh, that's that Powell. Okay. Wow. Did not know that. The other bit of team lineup good news coming out of Cincinnati for the Union is that newly crowned Defender of the Year, Matt Miazga, is out for the next game due to yellow card accumulation.
Yep.
We might want to talk about that one a little bit. And then currently,
just real quick, I did see that Nick Hagelin apparently had surgery on his hamstring. So my guess is he's not coming back for the Union game.
Because they're listed right now. They're listed as out. So I think because for us, for the Union, Glesnes is listed as out, and I'm pretty sure I don't think he's gonna. It's very long shot he's gonna make it back in time for the final, if at all. In sticking with the Union injury here, Julian Carranza, however, we have some good news on that front. It's listed as questionable, but today there was a report on the Union website saying that he is returned to full training with the team,
which is definitely a hopeful sign for the teams. Results in the next round.
Yeah. So
I just want to point out one thing. After the first round of playoffs completing, you expect the higher seed teams to win. So their teams, from both conferences seeded 1 to 8. So, you got a seeded 1 through 4 in each conference. The Eastern Conference had all 1 through 4 made it through. And the Western Conference, the only team in the 1 through 4 that didn't make it through was St. Louis to get upset by the number 8.
Yep. That is just the MLS writers really just, that was,
yeah.
They replace take out team number 1 with team number 8.
Yeah.
I was looking at those numbers too when I was going through the semifinal lineups. It's like, hey, look, Eastern Conference 1 through 4 made it through, and Western Conference not so fast. Yeah,
it is interesting to think though that if the Union were to make it to the MLS Cup, their next home game would be MLS Cup.
Yeah,
because they will not host either the semifinal or the Eastern Conference final.
Yeah. So, that's a good point because even if and when the Union make it past Cincinnati, we will not be the higher ranked team coming from the other leg of the Eastern Conference, because that's Orlando and Columbus. That's ranked 2 and ranked 3. So regardless of that outcome, the Union will be traveling, hopefully, for the Eastern Conference final. When is that? February, I guess. Anyway, all right. These are low-hanging fruit jokes here.
Well, speaking of traveling, I did notice that the Sons of Ben were immediately on top of how to get to Cincinnati for the game. They are really trying to rep support. So first of all, hi to any Sons of Ben who are listening. Thank you for listening. And reach out and say hello. Planes, trains, automobiles, they had everything mapped out, approximate costs, including gas and tolls. It was kind of amazing. So
I bet if you start hiking now, you could get there in time.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting because that is, of course, Thanksgiving weekend. So not everybody has off, but there's higher likelihood of people having more flexible schedules. So I'd be curious to see if there's it's not as far as it could be. It'd be interesting if there's a good Union turnout. Hopefully there will be. So I found that interesting.
I almost wonder if there's they're even organizing carpools and caravans and waypoints along the way. Yes, this guy Carl, people are allowed to stay at his house in out by Pittsburgh, and
I have no doubt.
I mean, even if there's not way stations along the way, I'm sure that there's people organizing road trips and caravans and tickets and stuff like that. And sitting here talking about it, it's like, well, that's not that far away. Stop it, Paul.
And as we get closer time wise to this game, it's only Cincinnati is going to look closer geographically.
Yeah.
That's kind of it in terms of the upcoming semifinal games. Guess we're in this international break. Union had 7 players called up for international duty of some form or another.
Cincinnati only had 3.
I saw that one too, Paul.
One of them was to Venezuela, which the Union, has one as well. But
So we have Baribo called up for Israel for a Euro 2024 qualifier. Gazdag Hungary for the same series of qualifiers. Martinez to Venezuela for a pair of World Cup qualifiers. He's going to be busy. Blake Anlow to Jamaica for a CONCACAF Nations League quarterfinal. Good Lord.
Yeah, I want to jump on that one. So I've lost count. So what is the Nations League?
That's what I was just thinking as I read it. Yeah.
I know that the winner or the top whatever teams qualify for
Joe's Cup.
I think is it the South American conference championship. I can't
CONMEBOL.
remember.
Are you thinking CONMEBOL?
Yes, I don't know, but yeah, I saw that, and I'm just going to go ahead and just put my cards
Express
on the
your
table.
bafflement?
I don't know what Nations League is. I mean, I'm assuming it's obviously CONCACAF, but
I mean, I could go hit Google and act like I know what it is, but essentially, I know that they changed the CONCACAF competitions, so it's more of an actual league style of play during these non-World Cup qualifiers, or in place of the World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
They're playing for national honor in some way, shape, or form. It's not quite a super league, but kind of is. It sounds like it's a chance to get, hope. I guess the point is to try to make these games mean something, even if they're not for world standings or for World Cup qualifiers.
The thing that makes me suspicious is that these are all sponsored by orthopedic offices. So
well, it depends. Are they all being forced to play on turf?
Yeah.
Really.
Sorry, go ahead, C.
Well, no, and finally, Harry Ellen McGlynn to U.S. Olympic training camp in San Pedro del Pinatar, Spain, for friendlies against Iran and Morocco.
That's awesome that both Harry Ellen McGlynn got recognized.
Yeah.
These aren't January call-ups. These are, I think that was for the U23 team,
Yes,
right?
correct. I mean, it's the Olympic team. Yeah.
So there's a chance that they could actually play in the Olympics, which would be awesome.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't really like the fact that the union would be losing players to the Olympic team, but at the same point, it's good for them to get that exposure, and hopefully they could help the team do well.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else on the union team that I feel like it is missing from this list.
Well, Bueno wasn't called up to Venezuela this time. He was last time, but then he got injured.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Wagner's still looking for his first call up to Germany.
Come on, Germany.
I'm trying to think who else.
I was glad to see Gazdag on that list because I feel like he hadn't been called up.
No, he had.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You could say Carranza and Ora. Well, Ora hasn't really stood out this year, but Carranza being pretty good.
Still nursing his injury. I could see him not getting called up.
Elliott's probably never going to get a call up for England.
Hey, that's more Elliott for us.
Maybe Glesnes, but Glesnes is obviously injured.
Yeah.
Oh, Mbaizo didn't get called up.
Oh,
yeah. Teams are playing in this window.
And I wonder too, again, I guess we could just Google this and get the answer, but I haven't heard anything more about Mbaizo's
status with the team.
Right, with his looking for a new team or his family's visa situation.
But he didn't play in the last game, right? It was Harriel was out left for Wagner. Did Mbaizo play in the last game? I guess he did.
I think he did. Yeah,
he did. Yeah, it's kind of been quiet about Mbaizo the last few months.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got it settled down and he's just going to ride out the rest of the season and then go handle things with his family. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I just, in a quick scan, it kind of seems like the last news was the first news that we heard.
Maybe
no
that's
updates.
because MLS behind the scenes secretly pulled some strings for the union and managed to make something happen for the team.
Come on now, Paul.
I know. Was trying to do it with a straight face, but I just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah.
Wait, what absolutely massive international star do we have on our team? Oh well, try again next time. But I'm not
sorry,
bitter.
Do you mean what star do we have that they just made up a game to have him play so they could give him an award? Oh, and by the way, they lost that game.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. That was the Miami played. So does this game, right? Between New York City FC and Miami. And
flashing lights and
for all intents and purposes, it feels like just a completely fabricated game.
It was a completely fabricated game.
It was 100%.
just to
it was like a tribute game for him.
For Messi, I guess. And
well, he won the Ballon d'Or, so I mean, something to celebrate for sure. But it was a weird way to do it.
I sometimes wonder if Messi's getting to a point where he's just looking at the various MLS organizers and whatnot and be like, guys, you gotta, this is getting embarrassing now. Like, yeah, you're not just embarrassing yourself, you're embarrassing me now. So can we just back it off, a little bit, I don't know.
Where did that game happen?
I think it was New York. Was it New York? I don't know.
Not sure, to be honest.
Yeah,
I wonder if they would have sold more tickets if it was in New York, so they held it in New York because of that. And then,
I wonder.
Whoever showed up, and whichever players showed up got to go out on the field.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good on those players from the Union to get those call-ups. We were talking about it a little bit beforehand. I am a little surprised Israel's playing at this point in time with all the activity there over there, and I guess it's in some ways it's good to have a distraction like an international soccer break.
Yeah. Yeah, we got our semifinal games coming up a week from, this weekend. And then, feel free to put this in your calendar for whenever it gets here, that the MLS Cup is on December 9th, which is, as of this recording, over 3 weeks away. So I guess it's not that far, but gosh, 24 days away. And we only have 2 games. Whoever gets to the MLS Cup only has 2 games between now and December 9th, 24 days.
I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be, that Saturday and Sunday after Thanksgiving, then the Saturday after that, and then the MLS Cup final will be the Saturday after that.
Yeah.
So,
I guess that tracks.
At least they won't be cramming in the games in the finals, but I mean, let's see. You could end up in Columbus for the final. You could end up in Philly for the final. You could end up in Cincinnati for the final. All of those towns could be very cold come December 9th.
Yeah, the only ones that kind of have a decent shot at being pleasant weather is, the West, right? Houston, LA.
Orlando. If Orlando wins
Orlando.
East,
yeah, sure.
That would be,
sure.
I'm sure that's what all the MLS executives are hoping for, as far as weather-wise. I mean, no slight to Orlando. They're a fine team. There's a reason why they finished as high in the East as they did. But I'm obviously still rooting for the Union.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, when it comes to the MLS executives freezing their bits off, I kind of wish a team from Canada was still in this.
Come on, Toronto.
Let's go, Vancouver.
Okay, so let's maybe turn to, I don't know, something a little bit more entertaining or exciting than the games that haven't happened, and
now for something completely different.
So, Chrissy, you have the helm.
Oh, I do. Okay. Well, I was thinking that maybe we wanted to talk a little bit about our soccer journeys. No, but really, truly, like, how did we all, the 3 of us, end up being soccer fans, especially since soccer is not, and especially when we started, we all have been following soccer
back in the day,
football in some form for quite a while, well before it was easily found.
Before it was cool.
Well, you really had to seek it out in some cases. Yeah.
It's not like we're some sort of hipsters here. Dora is saying, "I knew them before they were cool."
Sorry, you don't like live, do you?
Yeah.
Sorry. In joke. Nothing wrong with live. But yeah. So. But I guess I have a question for my co-hosts. So how did you arrive at this particular sorry juncture?
I would say, ladies first. If you want to go first, you can give your story, and then I'm happy to answer the question too. If you want me to go first,
it might be ladies first. I don't know if that includes me, but I mean, I was really through E.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, but, yes and no, actually two paths converged. So it was through E, but it was also because I, was a big Anglophile.
Yeah.
And so
yep.
I had some friends who were, fans of Premier League, and I knew bits and pieces about that, but it was, before you could easily access Premier League action in any way. So kind of had an interest in it from that, and loved the whole idea of promotion and relegation, because I would love to see that in American sports. We don't have the infrastructure for soccer, but that'd be fun if you do that for NFL or something like that. But again, just an interesting idea. So I liked that. And then what really got me hooked, I think, was watching the World Cup for the first time. Because, now you're asking a lady, quote unquote, to reveal her age.
No, just which one did you first watch that caught your attention?
It was 2002, and I'll tell you even the game. It was Argentina, England.
Really?
Yeah. Which, because I had heard about it. God, here we go. Of all things, NPR. I had heard, what a big game this was, and how
they were refighting the Falkland Islands War.
Exactly, because there's beef. There's previous, as they say. Again, I'm once again to mention Men in Blazers, but yeah, just a lot of previous there for a lot of reasons, but also, just how places in those countries were essentially shutting down.
Now that was not the Hand of God game, was it?
No.
That was way back.
That was in the 80s, I'm pretty sure.
Right?
Yeah, no, this just happened to be, one of those scheduling things that, but it was, like Stefan would say on Saturday Night Live, it had it all. It was really a great game. I mean, they were singing Rural Britannia. I mean, the singing in the stands and the, everything that was going on. There was somebody got hurt and was holding his hand to his forehead, and when he pulled his hand away, there was just a curtain of blood that came down. And I mean, not that that's necessarily a selling point, but it was dramatic, to say the least. And then they just wrapped him up like a Civil War soldier and sent him back out, changed his jersey and the whole thing. And then also at the end, like the swapping of jerseys, just generally in the games. I don't remember specifically that one, but like they don't do that as much anymore. They do, but it felt like it was more widespread back then. But
it was.
I just there was so much culture around this that had to do with the game, but I don't know. It was fascinating
too.
Yeah. So that was tough, a tough thing to watch, because that game happened to be on regular network television, but like the other ones we'd have to watch on Spanish language channels, which is not a big deal, but but then that was also, the time difference was insane. So we were watching
2002 one was Japan, Korea.
So that was one that you'd be going to sleep for a few hours and getting up at like 2
and 3 in the morning.
5 and 8, I think, was that
something like that. It was a wild shift. So, but I got hooked pretty quickly and was doing that. So
what got you into MLS then, since you were, international and Anglophile that you are?
Yeah.
Was that the Union, or was that?
No, I followed it sort of again through E, to a certain extent, but I didn't really start until about 2009. That we really got into it and kind of paying attention. At the time we would root for the Revs a lot, actually, ironically, because that was, I don't know, it was the first team that I could recognize players. Pick out and recognize players. That was back in the days of Taylor Twellman.
A couple of your boys, right? Steve Ralston.
Taylor Twellman, Steve Ralston, who reminded me, I liked him because he reminded me of one of the BC Boys. That's all. That was my sole basis for liking him. But yeah, so
I know he probably didn't catch your eyes, but Shalry Joseph is still one of the class players of all time.
He
made me want to played midfield just watching him.
That defensive midfield position. He just, I don't know who, if him at his peak versus Martinez at his peak, I'm not sure who I go with.
Yeah. Ooh, that's like a Balboa thing. Like,
Yep.
Well, and Well,
Go,
real quick. So, like, I mean, what really kind of helped me learn a lot about the league was there may still be, I haven't looked into it in a few years, but they used to have a fantasy league.
Yep.
I think there were ones that were run by other
Yeah.
organizations, but there was one that was actually run by MLS too. And we had a little kind of family and friends league, you know, and you know, also just doing that and putting yourself out in the whole field of whatever. So that was a lot of fun. It got me to really understand like the other teams better than I do now. I mean, now since there are so many teams and since we have the union and I'm very union focused, I probably have less of an idea of what's going on around the league unless I, you know, like we have a connection to St. Louis. So, but that used to be a lot of fun too. So that really kind of brought me up the curve a little faster than I might have come up otherwise. So, but then once the union came, then it's, you know, the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, it got real simple.
So, but I will say that little just fun fact: the day the union unveiled their first jersey was actually the day that E and I got married. So that I texted him in the morning.
That's right.
and I just sent him the news. That was it. It was like, see you later. So yeah, it was kind of fun.
Both seeing new outfits for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. I still remember too, the union were hosting open tryouts. And I just like remember, was it that weekend or the weekend before?
There were two, and one of them was our wedding day.
Our wedding, yeah. But I remember just like joking, like, you know what? I just want to just go down and try out. I know I'm not going to get in, but just to say I tried out, you know, I'd like walk on that field 30 seconds later as I'm like gasping for air, like, thank you very much, you know, and then that's it, you know, just to say I did it.
I feel like those guys from in that movie Invincible that were obviously never going to have a chance at the team, but just show up and just so they could say they did it.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. You want me to go next?
Yeah, Paul, what about you? Yeah, let's go through our 3-tiered questions here.
So, you know, for those who might be listening and don't know, Ian and I are from a family with 6 kids. I was number 4. He was number 3. So growing up, we didn't really play organized sports. But the one year that I played an organized sport was second grade soccer. And that was the one organized team that I was ever on. You know, other than I think I may have run a season of track in high school for some reason. I don't know if that was a bet or what, but so I played 1 year of organized soccer as a kid, and you know, then it kind of fell off. I do remember having a 1994 U.S. hosting the World Cup T-shirt. And I mainly remember that because our brother-in-law, Tom, at one point was over at our house and needed a shirt and took that one. And then I don't think I ever saw it again. I'm not sure why, like if he got something on it and or what, but yeah, I don't even know why he needed a shirt. I think that was what happened to it.
Tom, you owe a T-shirt.
I think it was Tom. I could be. Anyway, I do remember that T-shirt, and then after that, I'm trying to remember the timeline now, but it was definitely around that 2002 World Cup. I definitely distinctly remember watching that World Cup, and I'm pretty sure that was before I started playing as an adult. I think that's what got me into it, because honestly, I remember going. And it was either on one of the PBS stations or one of the broadcast stations that had a couple of the games on. And I remember getting on a phone call with you at like 1 a.m, 3 a.m, something like that to watch
2002 World Cup.
In 2002. And I also remember this was before I was married, and Jen's cousin from Korea.
Oh, I remember this.
And Jen and her mom were, you know, I asked, I'm like, hey, for whatever reason, can I come over and watch the game on ESPN? Because we didn't even have cable at the house. And so I drove over there one night and watched it with
I think I joined you guys for this.
You did.
I think you did.
Because I remember
went down from where you were living.
Yeah.
I think
Smack
it was
talking
Korea
with-
versus the US.
It was.
And so she's obviously cheering for Korea.
Yeah.
And we're cheering for the US. And it's like 3 a.m. and Jen and her mom are asleep upstairs. So none of us are cheering. Well, she didn't cheer particularly loud anyway, but we were jokingly rooting, cheering with her. And I remember that was a lot of fun.
I remember she was like the most polite fan for Korea. Like, we're like, come on. Like, trying to keep our voices down. And I remember, like, I think Korea scored or something like that. And then we kind of like shoot daggers at her over to her. She's just like just quietly clapping her hands.
Yeah. She was sweet. And then after that World Cup, two things. One, E and I ended up moving in together up in the Douglasville area and started playing adults soccer indoor. And I also found hattrick.org, which was a soccer management website.
I was wondering if that was going to come up.
Yeah.
If I could just have 10% of the time back
Oh my God.
that I spent on Hattrick, I'd have like another year to add on my life.
I can remember being like visiting friends in New York, and you were like, can I open your computer real quick? Because it's Sunday night. And
I need to set my orders.
I set my lineup.
I hope people know what we're talking about.
It's still out there.
It's still out
there.
there.
Still find it. And it's, I'm sure it's still fun. But Hattrick got me into, just the idea of the game and learning about the game. So much so that E and I then went for the first Dos a Cero US-Mexico game in Columbus with a whole crew of Hattrick players. Like, I mean, literally a guy came up from DC who we had never met in person. We'd only beer? That was beer. And he drove with us 8 hours out to Columbus stay at some other Hattrick player's house. Right. And so that would have been in 2005, 2006.
It was 2005 because it was right after, like days after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember.
And it was after I was married. I remember that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, that was when we had Magic Voice, which was one of the first times any of us had used GPS
system. Called it Magic Voice.
And we were surrounded by Mexican fans, and
we were in it.
And in all honesty, it was a lot. It was intense. Don't get me wrong. They were decent. They were nice.
Yeah.
When the U.S. got up, they weren't happy. When they got up a second time, they definitely weren't happy.
Yep.
But at the same point, I lost my phone, and one of them actually met up with us and returned it to me. So hey, good on them. That all of that kind of led to me really getting into soccer. And then once, it was announced that the Philadelphia was getting a team was that 2012?
Zola, right? That's 2010.
Hold on. 2010 was the first season. So I think they announced it in 2008, maybe, or 2009. I'm not sure.
As soon as it was announced, I got in the order. I placed an order for season tickets. And we
thank you, by the way, for being on top of that. I don't know if I ever formally thanked you, but thank you, because I do always give you credit for our seats. So
our seats are awesome.
I still remember you're like, I'm putting our names in for. I'm like, awesome, do it.
Yep. Yeah, because Nate had just been born around that time. Because I remember I was traveling for work up to Massachusetts area at that point. But anyway, so I got the season tickets, and then that's kind of my soccer thing. And nowadays it's really about my kids and coaching their teams, and I still play pickup some Sunday mornings when I can get out there and my feet are not in pain. And try to get around the field a little bit. That's kind of my soccer story. It was, one short season as a kid. Then it was the '94 World Cup, and then it was the 2002 World Cup, and hattrick.org that got me into it. And, I still try to play when I can, and it's a ton of fun, and I'm happy that the Union are around. So how about you, E? What's your story?
Well, I guess when I was 7 or 8, I got scouted by Arsenal's youth squad, and just kidding. No, I mean, for me, it's that very typical story arc for a lot of us, right? Soccer is one of the first games you play in an organized fashion. I remember just on a municipal league for I think 3 years. So remember the first team I was on. I think a lot of us were on this team when we first started. It was the green jersey, like that dark forest green jersey, and we were the Eagles. I just remember the little white vinyl soccer logo with the green.
Dad coached that team.
Yeah,
running around with his keys in his pockets.
I remember.
Wait,
that,
hold on. Your dad coached?
Yeah, he would like coach or assistant coach, or There were a bunch of dads, like the Lovegrins, Files.
I didn't know he coached. He always tells me that your grandfather was a midfielder.
Yeah, that's the story, right?
That's the story.
Yeah, he was a midfielder. Baranowski's, they were another big one.
Remember that family?
But no, I remember like playing first, second grade, and at that time, it's just kind of swarm ballish. You didn't really have the tactics down. But at that age, I was a little faster than the average kid, and so I remember playing on the wings a lot and just running up and down. I do remember not like playing in the cold and rain, because I remember like be Saturday mornings. It's like, oh, it's raining. Do we have to do this? And I also remember learning how bad your equipment smells after you play if you don't wash it. Yeah. But and I remember, I think it was around third grade or something like that. That's maybe it was third or fourth grade. Now you're in that age where like some guys are starting to age more, mature than other ones, and they're getting faster and stronger, but they don't have necessarily the maturity to go along with it. And I still remember trying to play on this wing, and these guys on my own team, they would never pass that. They would never pass to me, because while I was fast, I wasn't a good player. And I just remember getting so frustrated at one point where I got the ball from them and just kicked it away from them, like I was playing for the other team. And I think that was the last year I played. And then that was kind of it. And then it's funny, I remember 94, the World Cup in 94, but I don't really remember really following it too much. It's like, oh yeah, it's this soccer thing going on, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really,
You just heard bits and pieces about it. That was about it. Yeah.
On the news or whatever. But
all I remember is the t-shirt
that our brother-in-law now has and owes.
I'm gonna really feel bad if it wasn't Tom. So let's just assume it wasn't Tom, and I'll apologize to him. Maybe it.
No, we blame
just
Tom.
Assume it is him, and then
I'll blame Tom. I'll blame Tom for. I mean, he's picked on me enough, so it's Tom's fault.
That's right. It's
yeah. You can wipe your hands of it, but I'll say it was Tom. Go on.
Exactly, it's our prerogative. But for me, it was the '98 World Cup in France, and my roommate Miguel at the time was, now we're really dating ourselves. So we had our VCR in our little 2-bedroom house, whatever. And I remember him coming to me saying, like, "Hey, I'm setting up the VCR to record. Don't touch the VCR because I'm going to watch. I'm recording World Cup games." Like, oh yeah, cool. That's fine. I'll watch with you. And it's telling you to the story that Miguel's originally from Spain, and so I remember coming home at the end of the day, we'd throw on these games, and I just remember thinking, man, I have never seen anything like this. And I think, Chris, you mentioned it, that first time, like I don't even remember who England was playing, but the first time you hear this crowd singing Rule Britannia, I'm like, this is not a Phillies game. This is something different, and the final came down to France and Brazil, right? And France wins it at home, and the whole country's just jubilation everywhere. And this is back 90 or 98, so this is gosh, who was all on the team? Like Zidane was on the team. I think for Brazil you had the original Ronaldo. You had Roberto Carlos, you had anyway. So I remember, like, this is different. And so I remember, and again, Miguel, right, from Spain, his team is Real Madrid. And so I didn't know what Real Madrid was, and so I was like, oh, cool. So I would start following, and not knowing that once you pick a team, you're on that team forever. Which, so as La Liga goes, I still support, Real Madrid. But that was 98. And then what was I started working? I mean, yeah, it was 98. So I started working, and I remember I moved to Jersey, and I was working for that company, and like that's where Stefan, right, the guys, like one guy from Germany, and we on like lunch break or whatever, and a soccer ball would just, the two of us would just start kicking the ball back and forth. I haven't touched the ball since third
fourth
grade.
Yeah.
And I think we started doing that like at breaks, and then within a month, we were playing, like we had enough people at this company, like, who all just wanted to play soccer. Like half of them were probably, originally from, abroad. And that's what you really start to kind of get that taste of the international fervor for the sport. And we were playing, no joke, twice a week, 11v11, all from the same company. There were 22 people wanting to play this game, and we would play the whole year. We even made like a whole, two team league where I would keep track of the score, right? And I
remember the spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet, exactly. And I would send out the emails and all that. It was just a lot of fun. And then then I came back to Pennsylvania, and Paul and you and I moved in together, and we found like some amateur leagues, I guess, to join. But I think where it really started to take
off, wasn't
now,
even amateur. It was straight up intramural rec. It wasn't even like, amateur would have been a stretch.
But I remember I did play like one scrimmage game with that Romanian team, and I was like, I am in way over my head. Like this, like we scrimmaged against Penn State Berks' team, and I was just like, not only am I going to fail in my role on the field, there's a chance I'm going to die. So like, I played one game, like, thanks guys, but I'm hanging up the boots here. But then we found the one indoor league, which is great. And then where I work, there's a lot of internationals, and we started our own pickup game, and so we would just play nonstop, and I just really fell in love with playing the game. But so for MLS, Paul, for me, I remember so MLS would be on. I still remember back in the day, you paid like $5-10 for a year subscription, and you would watch the games online, right? That's pretty much where you got most of the games. And I remember just watching, because it was like, this is my league, our league here in the US. This is our league. And I didn't know enough about the sport to maybe see how it didn't really stack up against, the Premier League and La Liga and all that. But you know what? I couldn't even see those games if I wanted to, right? Because Christy, like you said, like there were like only these special, like the planets had to be aligned where like a Premier League game would be on a way that us mere mortals could see it, and
so they wouldn't spend half the time explaining what a soccer ball was to Americans. Yeah, exactly.
So, but Paul, I remember them. I forget what issue of Electronic Arts FIFA, and we would.
That's what
we did it when we were living together.
About FIFA.
Yeah, and we did. So I was what? I was Manchester United. You were Arsenal, and we played out the whole season. Like, so when it was. We'd set up for the season, so like the computer would automatically play all the non-Arsenal or Man U games. But whenever one of them came up, it'd be like, "Hey, Paul, don't Arsenal's up next, so you're playing Norwich or whoever. Okay, you play, and then whatever games, and you're like, hey, Manchester United's playing. Like, okay, I'll play." And this is back when Beckham was still on the team, and like we had our respective jerseys, but then like whatever twice during the season, we would face off against each other. We'd like sit down on the sofa with our jerseys on and play it. And it kind of, it's like the idea of the fantasy league, because you had all these actual players and you're training them or trading them, whatever, and you're learning their names. And but then I remember, I think you and I started playing, well, we should play MLS. And I remember at that point, right, you got to pick your team, and you picked
Columbus,
right? And I picked New England Revolution, right? Because I guess, did I know Twellman at the time? Or Taylor,
I think it was also the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, it's the red, white, and blue. Yeah.
For me, it was the classic Columbus logo. The three, the silhouettes of the three, construction workers. I just thought that was a really cool look.
Yeah.
And
the yellow was just it just
different.
Really stood out. Because I remember before the Union came along, I started then following in MLS Houston Dynamo. But at the issue of this version of FIFA and MLS. It was the Dallas Burn was the one team, and Houston didn't know there wasn't even a Houston. I think they were still the San Jose.
They were still in San Jose or wherever they came from.
So I remember then we started playing MLS, and I still remember like playing the game and realizing, oh my gosh, these players actually resemble. I mean, it's on a PS2, so the graphics are only so good, but they actually resemble the actual players I watch on my little web browser broadcast. So I think that's what started the MLS thing, because it was kind of like it was the league we could watch. So that's what I watched, and I didn't know any better, but there's nothing to apologize for either in that respect. And then I remember I started following Houston because that was back in the Brian Ching days with Dave Rosario. Yeah, all those guys, and they were such. What's his name? Kinnear was managing the team. Yeah, and I think there was like 2 MLS Cups finals that were New England versus Houston. New England versus Houston.
Yeah,
and Houston won both of them, I think.
Yeah, New England still hasn't won one. I don't, or just I can't remember if they've won one now.
But I just remember like really getting into it. And so like at my work, we would be playing like every week, and all these guys were talking, World Cup this and like Champions League that. And then I bring up MLS and people were like, not very much interested. But it's okay. It's my league and that's fine. I get it, And and then I remember like, every year there'd be talk about expansion teams. When's Philly going to get their team? When's Philly going to get their team? I still remember saying like, man, when Philly gets their team, I'm dropping Houston because now Philly's my team. And I know that's like, I feel like you're allowed that one time you're allowed to switch a team. And this definitely would be a good reason. Because I had like my Houston jersey,
well, I remember you two bought me a Columbus jersey for my birthday the one year.
Oh, we did. That's right.
And that was the old style with the collar. And I don't even know if I still have that. I might have kept that one just because it was the first soccer jersey I got. Because I do remember I bought the jersey when we went and saw US Mexico 2005. Like
the US jersey.
I bought the US jersey for that one.
Yeah.
I've got a few others, obviously Union jerseys. I've got a Germany jersey and others as well. But yeah, I think I might still have that Columbus jersey upstairs. I was when Chrissy threw out this topic, I was actually half tempted to run upstairs to see if I could find it. Yeah, because I distinctly remember that it was the logo for the Crew is what caught my eye.
Yeah,
and I actually used that as the inspiration for my logo in Hat Trick. When you could create logos for your team.
I don't know if I saw
I did. Mine was Calvin stuffed tigers. And I tried to make that silhouette logo with the 3 Hobbses. And but yeah, I forgot about FIFA when I was going to. Yeah. That was a big part of it as well.
Yeah. But I remember I remember when the Union got their team, and I still remember those commercials they would make, like with like obviously we didn't even have a team yet, right? It was just I think we already had signed Peter Novak to be the head coach. I don't know if we had signed any players yet, but I still remember these kind of studio filmed commercials where like watching like kind of these slow motion like sequences of players. Like to see Novak on the sideline, like he's gesturing and screaming orders out onto the field. And I remember it was like a black background, so you couldn't tell if it was night or day, right? And I still remember like the whole Philadelphia Union. And I'm like, oh, is that going to be our chant? I don't know. Like, we don't have a team yet. We've already seen these commercials. And so then once the Union got their team, and you got us our season tickets, it became. Got the scarf, get the jersey, right? I think, Paul, you and I both have first year.
We have an inaugural season jersey. It's starting to fall apart now, but I still have it.
I know. That's right. Chris does too. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because this is pre-Bimbo.
Before there was sponsorship.
Yeah.
Because that way we didn't have Bimbo across the front.
Correct.
Like hindsight, I really wish we bought 2, because the one I wear a lot. But like you said, it's starting to fray. It's starting to fall apart. It's
Like the Adidas stripes on the shoulder on mine have come loose on the top.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta be careful when I wear it and stuff like that.
Yeah. But it's interesting, like how much, there's been books written on this, there's podcasts about it, but just how unifying soccer can be. Like when I was working in Jersey, the company I was working for, right, we had an office over in Germany, and we had partners around the globe. And I remember like getting in one morning, and if the tech support lines were busy, they would bump it back to us and like, hey, can someone take a tech call? Like, sure, we'll take a tech call. I remember still pick up the phone, and there's some guy calling from he was calling from, I think it was Cyprus. And he's like, he introduced himself, where he was calling from, which is not protocol. We just pick up like, hey, how can I help you? Tells me a name, tells you just calling from. He's like, and I'm watching the World Cup game right now, so I might have to put down the phone and check a score out just in case. I'm letting you know. I'm like, cool, totally got it. And I remember I was following at the time. And I remember it was either Greece versus somebody or Turkey versus somebody, because the fact that he's from Cyprus, I didn't put the geopolitical stuff together. And I said, oh, you must be rooting for, and I'll just say it was Greece. Oh, you must be rooting for Greece. He's like, no. I'm never going to root for Greece. I'm rooting for the other guy. And it's like, oh, I got you, right? But still, it's just, it's
like me rooting against the Red Bull, but with a lot more passion.
Exactly.
A lot more history.
Oh God, yeah.
We had our partners in Japan, and I remember like emails going on. This is in 2002, and it'd be like, okay, whatever, back and forth information for all work related stuff, and then basically getting these emails like, hey, if you need this, get it in by a certain time, because while I think they were 14 hours ahead, I can't remember. Like at night, they're all going out after work to watch the games, and the place just shuts down. And it's like, that's awesome, And then being back here in Pennsylvania, and like the people I worked with, it's like, hey, I still remember South Africa, and like we let's reserve a room, and let's watch the opening game, and let's everyone get their lunch. It's like it becomes this awesome connecting social event, and it's kind of like when your team's not playing, then you pick a team that you want to support, right? And you
root for a friend's team.
Exactly. And it's kind of like, we have friends, from England, from Spain, right? And you get on that bandwagon, and it's like, yeah, let's go until they play the US, and it's like, let's go US, and it's just it's the Olympics, and I think I can loop Sion on this one, right? The Olympics are great because there's these great stories, this whole international like feel good event. Yes, there's always actual problems with doping and all that. I get that, but still, just the idea of it, such a great idea. But soccer goes a little bit beyond all that, and no matter where you go, and it's nice, even here in the US, you go some places and you'll see someone walking down the street with like a Leicester City shirt on now. You're like, oh, we didn't see that 20 years ago.
Nope.
And and you you'll bump into people, and you're like, oh, you like soccer? Like, oh yeah. Like they'll see scarves hanging up in your office. Like, well, who do you support? Like, I support this. Like, oh, cool. And immediately it just fosters these
heretic.
But I think it's still niche enough that when you find somebody who is interested in soccer, that you have a connection, even if you root for different teams. Like if you see that Leicester City person, there's still a little bit, it's a oh wow, I wouldn't have seen that however long ago.
Yeah.
But it's still a little bit unique in the sense of it's still not the prevalent sport here. So you do have that kind of immediate level of kinship.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
But it's funny too, even like in families where soccer is, runs deep, particularly international, talk to people's like mom or grandmother, and they even know like, oh, I'm never rooting for them, they're awful, like whatever international team, and they only you wear your colors and you root against those colors, and it's just
I can only imagine how many Romeo and Juliets there are between Real Madrid families and Barcelona families.
Mixed marriages. Yeah. Well, there's that one I've remember seeing this one clip a couple of years back, and it was just that. It was a couple getting married over in England. One was I think the wife was, her family was Man City, and the husband was Man United.
Yeah.
And leading up to the wedding, sadly, before the wedding gets there, the groom's father passed away, right? And so this video clip is at the reception now, and so the groom stands up to give the speech, and he's like, "Oh, I just want to take this moment to, so this is like, I think this is like in the, most of the people there were from her family, right? Man City fans." And he stands up and he's holding his glass. He's like, "I just want to take a moment to just make a toast." And you can see his voice starts to crack a little bit. He's like, "We lost someone very, very dear to us this year. He was such a leader for us, for our family and all that. So I just wanted to ask everyone to stand up and raise their glasses, and let's toast to Sir Alex Ferguson, because he had just left Man United." And immediately the whole crowd like both laughs and boos at the same time, because of, like, you get a room full of City supporters, to toast Alex Ferguson. And everyone, it was just, I think that kind of sums up that experience.
What a genius way to both address
Yes.
the elephant in the room and kind of diffuse it a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think he even said too, like, "Oh, my dad would be laughing at this right now."
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Little trip down memory lane for everyone.
Yeah.
If you've got a story you want to share with us, please do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, I'd be curious to hear how you guys came. I imagine a lot of people came through playing, as children. I did not. I come from a long line of non-joiners. So I really didn't. I wasn't, except for a brief stint of track and field myself, which didn't take. I was never on a team, never played. So it's even more surprising to a lot of my family that I have this level of interest now. In fact, I remember my memories of soccer when I was a kid was associating it with the 70s for some reason. I don't know if that was just the short outdated school library or what, but anyway, so I'd be curious to hear how other people reached their interest and like fandoms that they've chosen maybe beyond the Union. So I know some people are diehards for British teams, and unless you're from, or I shouldn't say British, but like UK or wherever, really, how did you pick? How did you decide to? So anyway, we'd love to hear your stories on that.
Interesting though, because I don't remember picking Arsenal, as he was talking about with the FIFA thing. Yeah. But I do remember, casually following them. And it's interesting because Nate, my son, that's his EPL team.
That's right.
Now,
that's right.
I think, like me, he picked it because of FIFA. My guess is he picked it because it has a big cannon on their logo. And he thought that was cool, because especially back when he first started following it a little bit, and that's when he was seriously into his Revolutionary War stage.
Yeah.
And, so he saw that cannon, I think, is what kind of caught his eye, and he's been following him ever since.
I think Arsenal kind of entered the American subconscious for some people too, because there's a Nick Hornby book called Fever Pitch.
Fever Pitch,
right? Which I believe it's a memoir. It's at least part memoir, maybe semi-fictionalized, but he's a huge Arsenal fan.
Colin Firth,
and that's the movie version. Yeah.
Who was the female lead in that version?
Not sure if that was someone whose career made it across the pond, as it were. So I that was the first team I knew from the APL. So and kind of thought that I always appreciated the sort of subtle threat of the name Arsenal. Arsenal. Instead of the lions and tigers and bears that we tend to have over here that are more overt. Arsenal. Just Arsenal. We have an Arsenal. Yeah. Just letting you know we have an Arsenal.
It's that nice British, slightly understated. It's not it's not overt, but it's polite and understated.
Sort of the British version of F around and find out.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Gosh, I could go on more, but I can see where we've passed the hour. Because as you're talking, I'm like, oh man, I remember. Right, Paul, like you would
save it for the next pod.
Save it for the next pod, because we're going to have more.
Yeah. So much good stuff. So much good stuff. Yeah.
We're gonna have more. So let's come up with some more.
I feel like we should do like a, probably not this season, but maybe next season at some point, like do a more Philly Union sponsored watch party somewhere. Like, hey, we're gonna be in King of Prussia. We're gonna set up whatever. Like, come on out. It's like maybe we don't want to do that when nobody shows up. But
yeah, that would be the embarrassing part.
That would be the embarrassing part. Yeah.
We have to get more downloads in PA first.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll take a poll. We can take a poll and see who'd be interested.
Yeah. But hey, if those people in Berlin want to, pay to fly us out there for a podcast recording, we do that.
Yeah, we'll keep working on our German. So,
jawohl.
Okay. Anything else?
Not for tonight.
That's it.
All right. Well, hey, if you want to join in our conversation, you can find us at our website, amorephillyunion.com. Hey, feel free to send us an email at pod@amorephillyunion.com. Hey, let us know your history. Actually, I know one or two you guys have. If what got you into soccer? What got you into MLS? What got you into the union? Any other big soccer stuff that were memories that were pivotal for your whole soccer, history? Feel free to share. We'd love to read it. You can find us on the various socials, on X, Twitter. You can find us at amorephillyU, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. We are a More Philly Union. We got that ongoing, growing Spotify playlist. You can find us on there at a More Philly Union. To be honest, the last episode, I kind of picked it because I just wanted to get a cake song on there. So I picked the title accordingly. So I kind of reverse engineered that one.
My hands were tied in that one.
Heck, if you want to email with any soccer stories, that's fine. If you want to email with any music requests, I will work those into the titles of our episodes, and we'll get your song on our playlist. So keep downloading our podcast where you get yours, right? We're on all the various podcasters out there. Subscribe, like, comment, spread the word. And thanks for listening to another episode of A More Philly Union. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
I'm Paul, and a special thanks for E for running 2 in a row this last week and this week, as I could not do it while I was driving. So thank you, E. Appreciate it.
You guys did a great job. Easy. All right, and let's end it. Go ahead, Paul.
Go Union!
When you were going on about the Columbus Crew's original logo, it's like, oh man, absolutely, I remember that, because it's this immediate emotional kind of response, and I think that's makes for good audio, good podcasting,
makes for easy listening.
Yeah,
like Kenny G.
I was wondering if that's where you're going with it. I was like waiting. Oh no, I think I see where this is going.